In Friday's game, expectation did not match reality for the Mariners. Luis Castillo faced off against Kevin Gausman, and we are behind to start the series once again. Welcome to the Dom Skeen channel, your one-stop shop for the Mariners storylines on Seattle's minds. The Mariners lost 6-3 last night to the Blue Jays to begin the series. Were out-hit 10-9, despite out-hitting them on expected batting average, 300 to 267. So made better contact, but you were outdone on a 2-run homer from Nathan Lukes, and then a double from Addison Barger that scored 2 runs as well. You had 2 more runs scored later in the game for the Blue Jays that put this one to bed. And the Mariners really only had one chance to really win the game in the 8th inning. Put a bunch of guys on base. You had Randy walk and bring up, who was it? Mastrobuoni, who grounds into a force out. And then you had Julio out. I think that ended up being a double play, actually. Then Tavares struck out swinging. Moore struck out swinging. And anyway, that was the end of the 8th inning, which was really our last chance before Jeff Hoffman came and shut it down in the 9th. And Castillo went up against Kevin Gausman in this one. Castillo did not look good, getting only 7 whiffs on 94 pitches. The average exit velocity up at 90.5 is not going to cut it. And when you're throwing just 8 changeups as Luis Castillo, you get 4 swings, you get the 1 whiff, but that's where that 7 whiffs on 94 pitches comes from, that really lackluster pedestrian swinging strike number. He's giving up hard contact. He's not getting swing and miss. Without that changeup, he is going to continue to be broken, as I've been covering on this channel extensively. So I don't expect anything to get better for Luis Castillo until maybe we see him go on the IL. Maybe we see him go, not to the minors, but I wouldn't put it out of the realm of possibility at this point, especially once Kirby comes back, if Hancock continues to perform well. We've got Logan Evans going tonight, another guy who wants to keep that spot in the rotation. Luis Castillo is just the type of guy who, if that one pitch isn't working, he is so unusable. And I think that's the case that we're seeing right now with him. I'm willing to call it that full-blown disaster now, because it's continued to happen. It's gotten worse with the changeup, and now I don't see it getting better without that changeup. Although I haven't sounded the alarm yet, I think now's the time to sound the alarm on Luis Castillo. I'm really starting to get pessimistic and sour on just what we're seeing from Luis Castillo. Although he could get it back in an instant, so I wouldn't drop him in fantasy. I wouldn't drop him way down my rankings, because he could get it back next start. Throw that changeup 20 times, get 7 whiffs on it, and he could be totally back to normal. Although I doubt that will happen. Gausman also was hit extremely hard for the Blue Jays. Did get 11 whiffs on 99 pitches, but a 94.3 mile an hour average exit velocity. And that goes into our extremely high expected batting average. Gausman was hard hit just so many times in this game. I can't even count. I think 12 times, I want to say. Yeah, 12 times, which is just an insane number, to be hard hit, especially in 99 pitches. 5.1 innings for him, 7 hits, 3 earned runs with just 3 strikeouts, no walks. Luis Castillo going 5 innings, 7 hits, 5 earned runs, just 3 strikeouts to 2 walks, giving up the 1 homer and getting hard hit 6 times by the Blue Jays. So not nearly as bad as Kevin Gausman by the numbers, even though I thought his start was awful. Kevin Gausman's was as well, although he was 2 outs away from getting a quality start, just because we had some really bad batted ball luck early on in this game. You had several barrels from our guys that just didn't end up getting anywhere. And Julio had a line out in the 3rd, 111 miles an hour off the bat, 760 expected batting average, which was a line out. In the 5th inning, we had Ben Williamson fly out. He barreled it up. Would have been a homer in 5 parks, but it was a fly out in Safeco, aka T-Mobile now. And then you had Jorge had a pretty good ground out, 104 miles an hour, 300 xPa on that. And when we did get contact, I mean, we had most of our hits that we did get of the 9 were hits that had probably a 500 or better expected batting average. Quite a few good ground outs, a lot of really good contact. Master Boney, even in the 8th inning, people might give him crap for that, but that had a 600 xPa on it. He hit that one 98.5. So, batted ball wise, if you're not even watching the game, if you're just looking at this, which obviously right now the game's not as fresh in my head. And then Julio, even at the very end of the game, hit 105.7 miles an hour, 370 xPa. Just unfortunate batted ball luck, which you can't do anything about. You look at it, you know that our approaches aren't broken. You didn't let Gausman get off with a quality start. Got him out of there in 5.1. Forced them to go to that bullpen, which is stacked, which we saw earlier in the year. Brendan Little gets them 1.2 scoreless innings. Yimi Garcia scoreless inning. Before Jeff Hoffman comes in and strikes out 3 guys for the save. Strikes out the side. So, we had Casey Legamina and Colin Snyder come in. Legamina, really good. 2 scoreless innings, 3 strikeouts, no walks. Snyder scoreless inning, did allow a hit, but 2 strikeouts, no walks there. And then Troy Taylor came in for an inning with us, did give up the run, and then on 2 hits and walked somebody, didn't strike anybody out. Taylor just looks okay this year. I'm not convinced that he's going to make it the whole year in our bullpen just yet, but we'll wait and see. And I think that's really going to do it for this one. Moving on to the main story now with this game is moving on to, how do we win the last 2 games of the series? Because with the 9 series wins in a row that we currently have, I want to say 8, including the first 6, I believe. We lost the first game of the series, and then went on to win the next 2 to win the series each time. Looking at tonight's game, you've got lineup with Polanco DHing tonight. You got Mastroboni at second. Rivas not playing quite as much. You had Mastroboni in there quite a bit. I'd like to see Rivas stay in there, to be honest, although Mastroboni is playing well. He's just very, very middling in terms of some of his numbers right now. He does have a 294 xPa. He is making good contact, even though he's more of a glove and speed guy. But that'll be interesting to watch. And then Cal he was tied with Aaron Judge to begin the day on homers for the MLB home run lead at 12. Judge had a double dong today, so Cal going to be looking to probably hit a bomb tonight. That's got to be my pick to hit a bomb, right? Leody Taveras not looking great so far this year. Obviously, those Rangers stats are pretty bad, but that sprint speed is still way up there. Would be the second highest in our lineup tonight. We're just behind Julio, and just ahead of Miles Mastroboni and Bill Williamson, actually. And then, Randy still has excellent hard hit numbers and plate discipline numbers, which I think are going to make him just a force. Hitting in that 5 spot especially, just a perfect spot for Randy, where he doesn't have to do too much, not asked to be one of the main guys to protect other hitters, but a guy who gets protection and then gives it back. Then when you look at, Logan Evans so far, again, doesn't have awful stats, but not the best either. He's almost like the Miles Mastroboni of pitchers, as weird as that sounds. As a Mariners fan this year, I'm sure you get it. Then Bowden Francis, I am so low on Bowden Francis that, if we don't destroy this guy the same way that I said we would that first time in Toronto, I'd be surprised. This is the guy you want when you're struggling offense. You want a Bowden Francis. All of his numbers are cold on StatCast. You don't need me to tell you that, though. This is also a guy who is throwing, in terms of velocity, 92.4. That he's mainly a splitter guy. So if you're a guy who's using a 4-seam and a splitter most of the time, that accounts for a good 81% of your pitch mix. They're both very low in velocity. Um, you're just going to have to be feeling that splitter excellently for it to work out. And I don't see that working out for seasons on end. So Bowden Francis right now, I'm not convinced that this guy's going to be a guy who is a starter long term in the MLB. I know last year, kind of his first year starting, I'm just not convinced it's going to happen for too many more years. I could think he could go back to being more of a bullpen guy. Whereas Logan Evans is just really going to be looking to, to get a little more swing and miss, because he hasn't shown any of that so far. Just not enough swing and miss. And, fastball velocity is so low. If you can't be, he's been pretty crafty. He's been pretty, pretty good at tinkering so far. But then again, I'd rather have a guy who has a lot more potential to figure it out than a guy who is tinkering, unless that tinkering guy is just the ultimate competitor, unless that's Marco Gonzalez. Because, if it's a human being that you just trust more than all the other human beings, then okay, I want that guy on my team. But Bowden Francis, obviously not on my team, not a guy who I'm going to be falling in love with the intangibles with, and in the profile, I just don't see it. Although he's a huge dude at 6'5", 220. Doesn't walk anybody, and he gets a big amount of extension. I just don't see it. Not in the profile. Not when I watch him. And last time we played pretty well against him, so I predict that same sort of big night tonight. I'm gonna go for 6-4. I don't know. I'm just feeling 6-4 for some reason tonight, and I'm gonna take Cal to hit a homer. I'm actually gonna take him to hit 2. Just keep that pace with Aaron Judge, baby. He does from that left side. He does so much damage. And I think it's possible. Anyway, that's going to do it for today. I will see you guys tomorrow with tonight's recap and for the rubber match on Sunday. Go Whams.